Gabe, I was catching up on the latest podcast this weekend, and one of the podcasts I watched, besides this one, is the Conan O'Brien podcast, and they got a brand new studio. So I'm looking around, seeing what you and I've been doing. I think we need to build a studio. Maybe we could meet halfway.
So what would that be, like Utah? We'll just like build one in Utah and meet halfway.
That's closer to me, but I'm fine.
Yeah,
with
that might be Nevada, maybe.
Well, what we should do
we'll
is
have to split to figure out what the difference is.
Is it like a tropical climate that's halfway? Because I won't be opposed to that.
There's definitely not a tropical climate that is halfway, but if we just want to pick up the podcast and move it to Hawaii, I'm definitely cool with that.
Oh, we should absolutely expense. That's a business expense. I think we should do it. Write that off.
For sure. Yes. I'm sure our bosses would not be, bothered by that at all.
Well, yeah. Well, it's, problem for a different day, but otherwise, big news, big tech news this week. If you're like me and you like to follow, Apple news and everything, WWDC, their developer conference, they've been talking a lot about the latest iOS, watchOS, random OS changes. So I got to tell you, this happens to be every year, but the new iPhone beta comes out and everyone wants to go install it. And keep in mind, this is a beta. It's pretty buggy. And this happens every year I do this, but I get excited. I download it and it's just like absolute buggy. So then I have to like downgrade this whole process. But I was talking to one of my friends last night. I did the same thing. I downloaded it. I was talking to him about it. And then within 5 minutes, I was like, all right, time to downgrade. This is like way too buggy. And my phone was so hot. I had to like sit it in a box of ice because I couldn't use like the flash. I couldn't download apps just because it said like, backups stopped until iPhone cools down. But that's some big tech news. And I got excited. I downloaded it and I can't wait for 2023 to download iOS 17 and then downgrade it 5 minutes after that.
And then immediately downgrade. I can't believe it got hot. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, like I like had my phone in ice. I was gonna put my phone in the fridge, but I thought I still need the Wi-Fi to like download these apps, So I kind of avoided that, the techie on me being quick on my feet. I went for the ice, which is funny because I feel like 10 years ago, if you said, "Oh, I'm gonna put my phone on ice," you probably wouldn't want to do that.
And no, that's definitely not.
And that's not tech advice. I don't think that's a good idea to begin with, but given, the water.
Probably not.
But the reason I bring this up
to bring this full circle, well, I got to tell you one thing really quick, Zach. So to bring this full circle around not wanting to put your phone in, ice or water and Hawaii, when we were in Hawaii a few years ago, my wife dropped her phone in the ocean after we were there for about 15 minutes and then did not have a phone the entire time we were there. So she was really upset because she couldn't take pictures of the vacation because she dropped her phone in the ocean. And the little, putting it in rice and all of that crap did not work to fix it. It was a real problem.
What kind of phone was it? How long ago was this? Was this like a flip phone?
This was probably, it wasn't a flip phone. It was an iPhone, but it was an older iPhone.
Your wife's going to hate me for saying that.
Oh, dude, my wife hates technology. It took me forever to get her. The only reason I got her to upgrade from a flip phone was because our son was born. And I was like, look, your phone sucks. Your camera is terrible. You have to at least get a reasonable phone here. And so I was finally able to get her to upgrade. But she hates technology and probably would still use a flip phone if it wasn't for the camera.
Well, the good news is to everyone listening, yes, we are going somewhere with this. But the reason I brought up the whole iPhone OS thing is because I was on TikTok last night and I was scrolling through the content as one does, 20 minutes goes by, half an hour goes by, and I see this Watch OS 9 ad. And what Watch OS 9 is, it's Apple's upcoming software for the Apple Watch. It launches in September, but I stumbled upon this ad, and that kind of gave us the idea, Gabe, to talk about video content, but not just video content, but that short form video content. So really less than a minute, your TikToks, your Instagrams, your YouTubes, and all that. So that's really what I wanted to dive into today a little bit and talk about. One piece of data that I found that, we love data, so I really just had to bring this up, but almost 50%, I think the actual number was about 47%, of TikTok users are between the ages of 10 and 29. So I was going to ask you, Gabe, knowing that, are you in that 50%? Are you in the other half, or how much do you use TikTok?
0. So I do not have TikTok on my phone at all. I keep getting tempted to get there just so I feel like I can have these conversations with you in a, more real, more realistic way. But I have not jumped into the deep end of the pool yet with TikTok. But I'm familiar with this whole idea of short form content. And I think it's not just short form content, it's vertical content, right? That's something that I think, more and more people are getting used to. And I know we're going to chat about that a little bit as we go through today, but that idea of just creating content that is built more for your entire screen and entire vertical screen specifically is something that I think more and more people are looking for. And things like TikTok and Instagram Reels and, stories both on Instagram and Facebook have done a good job of getting us excited about, and seeing content in that way.
I think so. And I feel bad for sending you TikTok links now because who knows where that link took you. But one of the things I think it's funny because like one of my biggest pet peeves is I've done a lot of video production in my, I don't want to say my career like I'm some professional here, but I've done a lot of video production. And one of the things that used to always bug me was when people would film something with their phone upright, and then put it on a landscape video. So then you've got these massive sides and this tiny center video. And the cool thing is, and like this is going to confuse everyone, but if you're doing short form content for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, everything like that, like that's exactly how you want to film. You do not want to do landscape video, which makes a unique challenge because when you have content in different formats, different sizes, it's not as easy to reshare across different platforms. Obviously, if I make a TikTok, that's not something I want to upload to Facebook. Fine print being you could update it to your Facebook stories, but we'll talk a little bit about that. The one thing I did see too, when I was looking at some data here, Gabe, was on Instagram, the Instagram Reels, which is the Instagram equivalent of TikTok. I feel like everything's just an equivalent of TikTok. Everything we talk about today is an equivalent of TikTok, but the Instagram Reels, I think the age group is definitely more broad there than TikTok. It's not just going to be 10 to 29, Gen Z's there. But it's also the Instagram's fastest growing feature globally, which I found. And then to that point, and this is why I bring it up, is 86% of consumers say they would buy or try a product if they deemed it share worthy. And Gabe, that's something I mentioned to you today, and your response was basically, what does that mean? And I thought it brought up another funny conversation.
I think my exact quote was, "What the hell is share worthy?" But yeah, it is interesting, and I'm not surprised on the Reels piece. One of the things I have noticed on Instagram and with my, do you have notifications from Instagram pop up to your home screen, Zach?
Only when someone like DMs me.
Okay, so I have just other notifications that come through from Instagram specifically, and one thing that I've noticed on the Instagram notification specifically is I think Instagram is really trying to push Reels, very much so, because I think they see the opportunity there. So now when somebody shares a Reel, that's a notification that pops up that says so-and-so just shared a new Reel, right? And it used to be that it was so-and-so shared a new post, or maybe somebody, tagged you in a post, those sorts of things. But it's interesting that I think it's interesting that they are specifically pushing these notifications on Reels because, let's be honest. Instagram Reels is basically just a TikTok ripoff, much like, Stories, I think, was Snapchat ripoffs, right? So, if Facebook does nothing really well, they're very good at imitating, right? Imitating is the highest form of flattery. But they're clearly trying to push that application specifically, or that portion of the application.
I think you're onto something there, Gabe. I feel like everything, and I don't even know who did what first, and who's leading this whole thing. But when I think of vertical videos, I'm thinking, oh, TikTok. That's just what I'm thinking of. Whereas I want to say Snapchat. You mentioned Snapchat. They didn't do this whole video thing like TikTok does, but they definitely did like the whole take picture, portrait mode, send it to friends. But the one app that I think is funny to bring up here is YouTube, because YouTube is very much the most popular, if not one of the most popular, well-known video sharing platforms out there. You go on, upload your videos and so on. But they also have a TikTok equivalent, as I mentioned. I'm going to be saying that a lot today, and that's the YouTube Shorts. And I was thinking about this, and I have never used YouTube Shorts. I didn't know what was on there until about 5 minutes ago, Gabe, when I was showing you what my feed looked like. So I'm curious, Gabe, have you seen much on YouTube in terms of this content?
I did not really realize that it existed either, to be honest with you. And then I started kind of playing with it a little bit as we started talking about this. And I was doing a little bit of research on it earlier today. It is, I mean, it's very much that vertical content, short content. They typically say I think you can stitch 4 15-second clips together to make a full 60-second clip if you want. If it includes music, it has to be 15 seconds or less. But what is interesting, I think, about YouTube Shorts is there's no ads. It's not like YouTube where you're going to see, pre-roll ads, maybe an ad in the middle. There's no ads. What it's trying to do is it's trying to push you to subscribe to specific channels. So when I was looking at this, what it sounds like YouTube Shorts is really for is content creators who want to create additional content to push people back to the longer form content that they have created. So I don't want to call us content creators, Zach, but I guess we could create a YouTube short video and push people back to our YouTube channel to subscribe to the podcast, right? Maybe that's
I think what you mean is influencer.
Yes, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I really don't want to tag ourselves that. That just is sad and weird. But
I don't have the TikTok dance moves to be called an influencer, but we'll follow up in a few business days about that.
Yeah. But that is how we would, somebody like us, right, would potentially want to use it, is we would create short, easy to create videos, sort of lower fidelity videos, right, with our phones, and then push people back to subscribe to our YouTube channel from YouTube Shorts. So it's interesting. I think it's interesting if you're, if you have a YouTube channel and you're trying to push people back to it, maybe that's a great, could be a really good way to do it. But if you're looking to advertise or, create advertising in this kind of vertical short form video content, it's probably not it doesn't really seem like the best place to go.
I agree, Gabe. And I saw a post on LinkedIn this weekend from HubSpot, and it asked everyone saying, and I don't remember the exact topic here, but it said something along the lines of, "Hey, here are these short form video platforms. Which one do you use the most?" And they had TikTok, YouTube, Instagram on there. The number one response of which platform would you use if you could only pick one, that's what it was Instagram Reels, which I think is interesting, but I do think there's a good reasoning why that was number one. Number two was TikTok, and number three was YouTube Shorts. But I think the reason Instagram was number one is, again, the audience on Instagram, because I'm going to kind of group in Facebook here too, but your Instagram audience is going to have a much more broad selection than I believe TikTok and YouTube. With TikTok, a lot of the comments question the security of TikTok. I know there's been a lot of discussion on, TikTok being a Chinese company, having data overseas, and that whole discussion that happened a few years ago. So I think, TikTok kind of in itself may not have the best name, whereas surprisingly, somehow Facebook does. But Instagram was number one. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to utilize that. And the cool thing with the Instagram Reels, and this is something I like to talk to you about, is once you have that video created and you upload that to Instagram Reels, like, share that to Facebook stories, share that to maybe a different channel as well, kind of sprinkle that about. Obviously, you don't want to share it every week and multiple times, but blast everyone. But when you have that content created on a channel like Instagram, you can absolutely add it to your Facebook story and kind of have it in both places.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, I think, if you've created the content, might as well share it in multiple places. I do think, in this case with the HubSpot poll, and being that the poll was on LinkedIn, I suspect that the Venn diagram of people using LinkedIn and TikTok is probably not as large as the Venn diagram of people using LinkedIn and Instagram. So that's probably part of it. But I do think if I remember correctly, YouTube Shorts was a distant third in that.
Oh, it wasn't even close.
They're in that survey, if I remember.
It wasn't even close. That's correct.
Which sort of speaks to what we were talking about before, right?
And I think you're right on that. Is people see, people on LinkedIn aren't going to be the ones using TikTok, but at the same time, you could ask yourself, why would I use TikTok? Here I am on LinkedIn, and I've got Facebook and Instagram and blah blah blah. But at the same time, I think you could ask yourself, why not use TikTok? Why what have you got to lose if you use TikTok? If you're already creating that content, maybe there's a trend going around, whatever that may be, but adapt the content you make to TikTok and try it out. I don't think there's any harm in trying something out, especially, if you have potential prospects on TikTok, you're not going to reach them now. So try it out.
Yeah, agreed. And as you said, try things, right? I think that's that's one thing you and I are, I think, reasonably decent at is, trying crap, like we started this podcast and, tried it out, and we're kind of learning as we go. And
that's a good example, Gabe, because I should highlight, between the two of us, we have absolutely no podcast experience. Like, we slapped this together on a Friday afternoon. And it's gone very well. It turned out very well for us. So again, that's just going back to that point of trying something else. It doesn't have to be some, professional show. I mentioned the Conan O'Brien podcast in their studio and everything in the beginning of this podcast. We're definitely not on that level. Are we striving to be? I don't know. But like, we still have a good thing going here. And someday. we just, decided to try it one day. This started as a joke. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast, but one of our teammates, I'll call her out, Shavella, wrote this nice article on how to make a podcast and what you should do. And I was talking to Shavella on the side. And I was like, hey, we should make like a team podcast with everyone or something. And she responded like, yeah, you and Gabe should just do that. Like you and Gabe should just do the podcast yourselves. And, I jokingly went to Gabe and I was like, we should make a podcast, And I think it was like just a couple days after I was like, yeah, were you serious about that? And I was like, I can be like, let's try it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I don't know if we have told this story, but yeah, you're exactly right. This thing came up very organically, and you mentioned it to me, and then a couple of days went by, and I kind of went, "Are you screwing with me, or did you really want to do this?" And we just decided to do it, right? And as you said, I think it's I really enjoy it. I hope people out there enjoy it as well. I hope it's informative for folks, but it's been a really fun experience, and we've iterated very quickly, right? The first couple, we didn't have video. Then we decided, let's try and add video to this and see how we can do that. The same thing. It's been the same thing with my LinkedIn activity over the past 6 to 9 months. I started doing videos on LinkedIn, I don't know, about that time ago, sometime late last year. And I'm quite sure, I have not gone back and looked at my first ones, but I'll bet they sucked. And I'm sure they were not very good. And I'm sure probably people think that about the first couple of podcasts that we did. But you know what? Whatever. I mean, we're learning, right? We're learning as we go, and that's been the great part about this whole process of, the podcast as well as LinkedIn videos and things like that is until you actually start doing something, it's really hard to know whether you're going to enjoy it, how good it's going to be, and how quickly you can adapt. And I think the same thing is true of trying new mediums for advertising. If it just flipping from horizontal to video content may seem, subtle, right? But it opens up a lot of opportunity for you because then there's so many other channels like TikTok, like Instagram Reels, maybe not YouTube Shorts specifically, but some of these others where you can, get that content out and get it in front of people. I think you made a really great point, Zach. If you're not advertising on TikTok, then 0 customers know about you there, right? Or 0 prospects know about you there. Whereas if you just put some content out there, even if it's not perfect, at least people know who you are and they're going to be familiar with your brand and familiar with what you're putting together, and putting out into the world. I don't know. I don't see that. I don't see a lot of downside there unless it's like, really, really bad content. But, people, I think generally people are pretty forgiving, especially with the stuff that's, that's very there and gone like it is on social, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
One thing I want to point out is, back when we started this podcast, a couple thoughts in my head was like, one was, do I really want to be like, talking to a group of people? And then the second thought was coming a few weeks later was, do I really want to be on video? Like, I was thinking like, why would Gabe honestly want to add video to this thing, And then I realized that there's really no downside to trying it out. You have that anxiety of being on camera and having that, camera in your face and microphone and all. But I think you quickly get over that. And one thing I always tell people to do is get your employees in your content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's the video we're talking about today, get your employees. You're gonna get pushback. I've done this in the past. I've had employees, be on camera with me or do a project for me. You're gonna get some initial pushback, but after they've kind of done it and said it, and it's like, oh, it's not too bad. And then the nice thing too is they might share the video on their own channels and kind of help you promote that. So just getting your employees, if you want to use them on camera and comfortable, it's not easy initially, but look at Gabe and I. and go ahead, Gabe.
Sorry, Zach, just really quick. I was just going to say with that employee comment, I could not agree with you more. And what I would highly recommend, broadband service providers out there do, or anybody do, if you want to start creating content for your business, go out to the people who are a little bit younger, who maybe are more comfortable with social media and comfortable being, putting themselves out on social media, right? Folks in Zach's age demo, they don't think it's weird to put content out on social media, right? Whereas, I didn't grow up with that. It's not something that I'm super comfortable with. So it did take me a little bit longer to, get comfortable with sharing stuff. I honestly don't share a lot on Instagram just kind of because of that, right? But getting more comfortable on LinkedIn, getting more comfortable putting myself out there, that was hard for me. But people who are used to sharing on social media, they're not going to have that reaction to it as much. And you don't need to have every single employee sharing on social channels. Find 2 or 3 people that really like it, or one person who really likes it and is excited about it, and lean into that person, right? You don't have to have your entire team doing it. If there's a couple of people who are excited about it and want to do it, great. Coach them up and get them, excited about it and kind of pushing that content out there.
Employees can be your best advocates. I've always said that when you create content.
Yeah.
And I guess the next part of this conversation, Gabe, is I really want to kind of talk about what kind of content should I be publishing? What should I be promoting on my channels? And I just want to talk about a few things that I've seen, maybe ask you about what you've seen. But when I think of the content I've engaged with on TikTok specifically, one page, and I'm 99% positive I've mentioned this on the podcast, but one of the TikTok accounts I follow is the Empire State Building. Now, I live nowhere near Manhattan. I have no interest in the Empire State Building, but this is just some channel I follow because they've got, funny content. They're kind of promoting the building and, the tourism around it itself. But that's one of the ones I follow. I also follow this real estate agent in DC, and I'm not looking to buy a house in DC. I have no interest in the East Coast, but I'm following this guy who's showing these historic houses just because the content was cool. He'd show you some nice historical details and kind of things to watch out for. And again, I have no interest in buying a house from this guy, but here I am following him. And then I mentioned that Watch OS 9 ad. And this one's interesting.
Yeah, that was good.
Because, and Gabe, you're the one that caught onto this, but with this Watch OS 9 ad, as I mentioned, the operating system for the new watch, it was highlighting the new features. So I know just about everything that's going to happen to the Apple Watch this fall. But the cool thing about this ad, and it was a paid ad, was there was not a single call to action in this ad. And that's something that Gabe had pointed out. It was more of like that education component. And I mentioned this to Gabe too, once we were talking about this. As soon as I saw that ad, I saw those new features, but I wanted more information. So within a minute, I was on Apple's website looking at, the latest Watch OS 9 ad. So that's another cool way to do content is, if you're not using a call to action, if you can get away with that, I'm not going to recommend that to everyone, but just having that information kind of being blasted out there that people might be curious about and look into themselves.
Yeah, I love that. And, if you're Apple, you can get away with that, right? Because obviously everybody knows your name. But I did think I was sort of joking with you when I saw that ad. I felt like the 100-year-old guy because I'm like, well, where's the call to action? Where am I clicking? Right?
What
I
do I
click
do
somewhere so I can go find out more. What do I do? I was all confused, but it was a really good ad because of that, and it's more of almost like a TV commercial, where historically you would have just seen this 30-second spot and maybe it interested you enough to go look up that specific product or service or whatever. This was the TikTok version of that, where it was 15 seconds and it went through all of the new iOS features on the watch and got you excited about going and looking more into those new features. It was really great and just felt very, obviously it was an ad, but it felt very natural and well done, right? And is just continuing to expose people to Apple and to Apple Watch and, you know, everything around that kind of ecosystem. I thought it was really well done.
That's a great point. And Gabe, I think we'll have a whole podcast episode in the future on call to actions, just because there's so much you can do there when you combine that with your content too. But there is one last, you know, piece of content example that I want to bring up. And, you know, it's almost dinner time here. I'm getting hungry, but, and I saw this ad and now it's all I can think about. I 100% know I'm going to be here for dinner tonight, but I follow the Chipotle account as well. And it's a funny one to follow because I'm not like looking for Chipotle content, but they just have stuff that's kind of funny and interesting to see. They've got 36 million likes on their TikTok account.
Wow. That's
yeah,
crazy.
I only got like 20, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Apparently, you need to be posting more burrito related content, buddy, and then you know, maybe
but I mean,
jack those likes up.
Yeah, back to my initial point. You know, like I saw these TikTok, these Chipotle TikToks, and you know, suddenly I'm like, you know, I could have that for dinner too. So it's not even like a paid ad. It's just having that information out there, and you know, hoping that, you know, here I am, 5 o'clock, ready for dinner.
Yeah. Well, I sent you an article, I think it was yesterday, about this idea of mere exposure effect, which honestly we could probably do a whole podcast on that. Well, I'll grab the link and we'll drop it into the show notes for this episode. But it was a really interesting article I was reading about, you know, like why Coca-Cola spends, I don't even know how much it is, $4 billion a year on advertising or something like that. It's because they're just trying to expose you to their brand. And there's been a lot of research over the years that shows that the more people are exposed to something, the more they're predisposed to like it. So if you continue to keep your brand front and center for people, you know, it's a great way to get them more comfortable with you and your brand. And when they do need broadband service or whatever other service you happen to be selling, they're more likely to engage with your brand because they've been exposed to it. That's why social media, I think, is so important. And some of these tools like this vertical short form content are really important just to expose prospects and existing customers to your brand in short, fun ways that are inexpensive and can get that content out in front of, you know, specific people with some of the targeting that we've talked about in previous episodes.
I kind of want a Coke to go with my Chipotle tonight.
I definitely want Chipotle now. That sounds delicious.
100%. I'll have to make a LinkedIn post with, you know, me totally plugging Chipotle now on the podcast. But hey, they do have a lifetime like burrito program. So if Chipotle is listening, you know, Price is Right. I'll be happy to promote you. But on a serious note, though, Gabe,
see, good thing about that, Zach, is a lifetime burrito program is great because if you like were to do that for 2 or 3 years, it would probably kill you. So they know they don't have to, you know, spend that money for that long.
I wonder what a lifetime burrito is. At my old job, the closest, this is going to start a fight, but we didn't have Chipotle, but the closest Qdoba was about an hour away. And like shamelessly, I would drive almost every weekend, whether it be by myself or with some friends I worked with, to Qdoba to get food. So I guess that kind of brings me into the debate here, Gabe. Chipotle and Qdoba. What are your thoughts here?
Oh, 100% Chipotle over a Qdoba or whatever, man. It's not even close. And I would probably drive an hour for Chipotle before I would walk across the street for Qdoba. So
no way, man. Okay.
That's just
I think they're both good. I think Chipotle has better food, but the chips and queso at Qdoba is like what is on my mind tonight. Like that's what I want to eat. But like, well, I mean,
it was a couple years ago that the Chipotle started doing queso too, right?
Probably because they saw someone was right. Yeah. But I mean, if there was a Chipotle and a Qdoba side by side, I'd go to Chipotle, being honest. But I've got a Qdoba in my town. The closest Chipotle is an hour away. You know, and I don't want to pay for that gas.
Drive the hour. This is the thing, though, that, you know, I know we talk about our age difference a little bit, you know, and just our different places we're at in our life. But this is 100% something where when I was your age and younger, I would totally drive to go get food. And now it's just all about convenience because I don't have nearly as much free time as I used to. But I mean, I remember, college, right out of college, like totally driving ridiculously long distances to go get not good food, but like food that was good to me at the time. You know what I mean?
Buffalo Wild Wings, and I've done that. I've done. I shouldn't even name
yeah.
these. I've done Olive Garden, I believe, with one friend, and then I've done Texas Roadhouse. We've driven to all of these places. Chick-fil-A is one.
Yeah.
Of those
See,
too.
these are not good places for food.
No.
Oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the place, but there's a burger place that was like an hour and a half to potentially 2 hours away, depending on traffic, that a buddy of mine and I used to go to all the time. And it was a total hole in the wall shack, but the burgers were really good and the fries were really tasty, and we would totally drive to go get that. But
Honestly,
again,
that's my kind of lifestyle. I love that so much.
Yeah.
But talking about
anyway, we got distracted.
food,
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I'm going to distract
No,
us even
I'm
more
hungry.
now. But I think some content ideas here. Obviously, I want to share some content ideas just to kind of give everyone listening some inspiration. Keeping the Chipotle trend going. But I saw this trend months ago. But the audio, it was just an audio clip everyone was using, and they'd be like in like a public setting, and the audio was something along the lines of like, none of these people know they're in the presence of a certified forklift operator, and they would just post videos with that. Chipotle did one, and it was just, and I should send this one to you, Gabe, because I think it's like honestly so funny. But it was just the brand manager, or whoever this was for Chipotle, on a plane, in economy, and had her mask on, and she was sitting there holding the phone, just videoing. In the background audio was like, no one knows that they're flying with someone who has access to the Chipotle TikTok, and that was it. That was the whole video. It was just like this person on the app sitting there with her mask on the plane with the audio. That was it. There was no promotion. There was no call to action. Again, there was nothing. It was just straight up, none of these people know. And it's following that same trend. So I think that's just a cool way to do is to go on and see what's trending, what's popular content, and get creative. Think about how you can adapt that. Another good content idea, and this is one that I'm like super excited about because I definitely want to use this, is behind the scenes content. I don't know about like you, Gabe, but I love seeing behind the scenes content. I'd like to know how things work and whatnot. Another one of the TikTok accounts I follow is, I think she's a cruise ship captain actually, but like there's like a bunch of like behind the scenes on like the bridge and the engine room. And I don't know anything about cruise ships. I'm not interested on going on one. I have like absolutely no interest in cruises, but like just seeing this behind the scenes look of something I typically wouldn't have access to, like I'm all about that. So behind the scenes, how does the internet get to my house? That's one I thought of. Gabe, you and I work with a lot of broadband providers, and I think there's so much opportunity for them to say, hey, short form video content, let's do a multi-day campaign showing people how the internet gets to their house. You could do everything from the fiber to the central office to whatever, and have that behind the scenes. I just think that's a fantastic idea. And if you think about it, that is going to be so easy to produce.
Oh yeah. And I love that idea. I think it's a great one. And one of the things I have seen a lot of my customers do is construction content, right? When they're building new fiber into a town. We see that one a lot, but there's a whole bunch of other steps of the process to actually get, the internet to your house, to Zach's point, that I think extending that out beyond just the construction, portion of it and into some of those other parts of the process, I think people would be interested in that, because there's a reason that you see tons of people sharing construction content. It clearly gets engagement. Otherwise, people wouldn't do it. And I've seen that be very successful for some of my other customers. So I think it's a great idea, Zach, to break that up into different pieces, and as you said, kind of make it short form, but, show different pieces of it and spread it out over a week or a couple of weeks. I think that's a great call.
There's a fiber build going on in my neighborhood, and I absolutely want to be in the loop. I want to know what's going on. I want to see what they're doing. So if you have a fiber build, put it on video, do some, and again, these can be 60-second videos. These can be 20-second videos. It's nothing, it's not some big production budget. You can go out with your iPhone and film this. That's something I like to talk to everyone about. Some of my best video content that was published on professional channels was filmed on an iPhone. And sure, I had a gimbal to stabilize the video and just kind of give it that professional feel. But you don't need to go out and buy a camera. If you have an iPhone, an Android phone, any flagship, I'm not going to plug, why the iPhone is the best phone out there, but just use whatever's in your pocket to film. It doesn't have to be something, super expensive and professional. Just grab it and go. And the nice thing is too, with an iPhone, or I should stop saying iPhone, with the phone in your pocket, with that camera, it's always on you. So, you could stumble upon something and be like, hey, I want to film that, or maybe I could do something with that.
Mm-hmm.
There's your camera. There's your opportunity. The last content idea
absolutely.
is education videos. And this is one I talk a lot about too, is maybe highlight how to use a feature on the app, do a screen recording of your phone and share that, or have a video of someone with on their phone showing you how to block a website or use parental controls, maybe set time limits, anything like that. You can easily do that too. And I think education videos, it's great because not only are you kind of promoting your business and your brand, but you're also, showing people, hey, I have this app. Here's how you can use it.
Yep, absolutely. I think those are both great ideas. And just to circle back to a comment you made about you want to understand what's going on with the construction for this fiber provider in your town. I think one of the big complaints that we hear a lot from fiber providers who are building fiber, that it takes a long time, right? The construction time frame takes a while. So the big complaint that you hear a lot from prospects who have signed up and maybe expressed interest in fibers are like, ugh, why is it taking so long? You guys have been taking forever to build this. Well, if you have those regular updates built in, it's a great opportunity to remind them that you're there, remind them maybe why it is taking a little long, that these are complex projects, but you still have that touch point with them through that, beginning of their journey with you, so that you're not just, okay, I took your email address and 6 months later, I'm going to reach out to you to say, hey, give me some money and let's come and hook this stuff up to your house. So I get to, as you said there, Zach, I think it's a great way to keep those touch points with customers or prospects in this case through that journey.
And Gabe, I've got to flip this conversation back on you. I talked a lot about some of these, channels I follow, some of these creators I follow, some of this content I've seen. What are you watching? What have you seen out there?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of research for some webinars that I have coming up later this month around the larger national broadband service providers. And anybody who's listened to me talk here or on any of my LinkedIn videos or anywhere knows that I'm a huge fan of the Facebook Ads Library. Love Facebook Ads Library. Cannot talk about how powerful that is enough. I love that tool so much. It's so helpful to go on and kind of see what people are doing. And one of the trends that I've noticed as I've been going on and doing this research is that the large providers are definitely starting to lean into vertical short form content. Comcast is working with Ed Helms, an actor, to put a bunch of this content together. But I've seen it in, lots of other companies as well. So it's clearly something that they see as an opportunity because they're leaning into it. They're running ads on, in that vertical short form content, form. Whether it be on Instagram Reels or, stories, Instagram or Facebook, whatever. I'm sure they're running TikTok ads probably too. I haven't researched that one specifically, but you're definitely seeing more and more of these large national service providers lean into that content because I think they see it as a great way to educate people and, get their content out into places where people are at, right? In these other social channels.
Gabe, there's so much opportunity in this style of video content. And again, at the beginning, we said, just try it. And I'm just going to remind everyone who's still listening to just try it. It doesn't have to be a professional video. Yep. Grab your phone, your iPhone, and just go out and film something, show people how the internet gets to their house, whatever that may be. We've used some great examples today, but go out and see what everyone else is doing, see what's trending, see how you can adapt some of that content as well. But I just think video is a very powerful tool. And in my experience, I tend to see much higher engagement with video content, whether it be short form or just regular video uploads. So, another reason we are on a video podcast.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I think it's great for early in the funnel too, right? To continue to start to educate your prospects about, what you can do for them. And then once they start to engage with your content, then you can pull them through that funnel in different ways using different formats. But when people are just learning about you, I really think this vertical short form video content is a great way to identify prospects, move people from kind of a cold lead to maybe a warm lead. And then you can start to retarget them with other activities. And I I know I'm a little bit of a lunatic about this, Zach, as well, but the calls to action, I think, are really important here as well. With these, ads specifically, one of the things that I did notice as well as I was going through and looking at a lot of these larger providers is, even though most of them only use learn more as the call to action, and I think there's a real opportunity to switch that out as well. Whether it's shop now, sign up, subscribe, there's a bunch of different options there on Facebook. And I feel like most people just kind of by default go to the learn more and just kind of move on with their
my
day.
gosh, mistake number one. That button is just so trash.
Yeah. Well, it's just so common, right? I mean, it's just everywhere, right? And it's the default for Facebook ads. So I get it, but it's such an easy thing to change.
My thought, Gabe, is what does that even mean? Like, what does that mean to anyone? And I just hate that button. If I see someone trying to use it, I'm going to step in. But it's just such a trash button. And the thing is, too, is that's kind of the Facebook gives you the options. But if you can use a custom call to action where you can put your own text in, don't default to the typical learn more, shop nows, whatever that may be. If you've got that parental controls, call to action, protect your kids, protect your family. You can do like stuff like that as your call to action. Don't think of these default call to actions as all you can use. Get creative with those if you can. And if you can't, just don't use the default option.
Yeah. And also create maybe some urgency in those calls to action. I think that protect your kids is a great example, Zach. Protect your kids today, right? Put some urgency around that as well. So it's not just, okay, the benefit is going to be that I'm protecting my kids, and the other piece of this is I'm going to be able to do it right now, right? So there's an urgency component around that as well. So I think there's a lot that can be done around calls to action and really thinking about the benefit that somebody is going to be getting out of taking that action versus just learning more about whatever the thing is that you're trying to educate them about.
Yeah, and Gabe, we could have a whole episode on call to actions, and I'm going to go ahead and schedule that one in. But I think this is a great discussion on call to actions and video. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today on our discussion on video content and Mexican food and how you can really improve those call to actions. I secretly have Uber Eats opened on my phone right now, so you know what I'm doing tonight here. But just for everyone listening, don't forget to give us a follow on your favorite podcast app. New episodes launching every Wednesday. And if you'd like, you can subscribe to us on YouTube to catch the latest video podcast, which is also uploaded to Spotify. And as always, feel free to connect with both Gabe and myself on LinkedIn or visit our website to send us a message. I'm always looking forward to hearing from you guys and hearing some feedback and content ideas as well. If you go out and make video content, but TikTok, Instagram Reel, send it back to us. I'd love to see it. I know Gabe would love to see it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely take advantage of that. But otherwise, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk soon.